Chizuru took out the ring and said, "I've been thinking about this for a whole month," shouting out that she also loves Kazuya's family. But she still couldn't put the ring on. Although she said she didn't regret the kiss in the Hawaiians, all the complicated circumstances at the time made her feel that it wasn't just a simple romantic feeling. She might be attracted to him, but not to the point where she'd throw away her current life and job to jump into his arms. So she lowered her head and said, "I'm sorry. Really sorry." A full-page spread shows the moment Chizuru bows her head in apology. Rejected. Kazuya held back his tears, telling himself, hold it in, while desperately trying to smooth things over for Chizuru. Just when it seems like the date was almost over, an unexpected accident happens. Chizuru hurt her foot from a shoe blister. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Just cinema. Pure 100% cinema. Like, not in my wildest dreams could I have made a chapter like this and even thought that this was going to happen. Like, this is insane. Like, this is actually insane. So, let me get some details, some background information to this. Okay, so this is the actual text leaks for the upcoming chapter of Rent-A-Girlfriend, chapter 380. I made a video last week talking about chapter 379, that there was a lot of progression, that we have definitely entered into the endgame, because we had a whole confession scene, and Chizuru pretty much acknowledging, yeah, you know, I think I'm in love with you. And it was a pretty good scene. Like, it's a good scene because, obviously, despite your issues or anybody's issues with the series, it basically meant that we are finally confronting the romantic relationship and the circumstances around Kazuya and Chizuru. And so, a lot of people are talking about it like, holy crap, you know, we're finally seeing the end of, like, the journey of Rent-A-Girlfriend. After, you know, years, over, like, 8 years, basically, we're almost at the end. So, we fast forward to these text leaks that came out today, and this paints an entirely different picture. And the picture it paints is just outright brutal. And I will get into that in a second. But before we go any further, I do want to clarify that these text leaks are very believable. Now, at the end of the day, these are leaks. This isn't official confirmation. For instance, the chapter isn't officially out yet, but these text leaks are very believable. And the reason for that is because at first I discovered them through, you know, this Twitter post here, someone talking about them. But then I did some investigating. I found out that there is the Reddit community of Rent-A-Girlfriend talking about it, chapter 380, in their pre-release thread. And then if you go further down, eventually you can find a link to this thread where someone apparently is translating the raws of the chapter, and you could see it like in here if you were to put it through translation. So these text leaks are legit. This it appears to be legit, and so now we need to tackle what this necessarily means. Does this mean that Rent-A-Girlfriend is coming to an end? Does this mean that it's getting an extension? What does this well mean in the grand scheme of things? Well, this is just pure rejection. I mean, the chapter just outlines it itself, that Kazuya was rejected. And this, just point blank, a pure 100% rejection like this also could spell the end of a story as well. And here is my assumption. If we're going to go down a cliche route where Kazuya does get with someone, here is my assumption of what's going to happen here, okay? Just reading these text leaks. So, obviously, Chizuru rejected him, and I will talk in depth about that in a second. But at the end of the chapter, at least with the text leaks, it implies that she had an accident, she hurt her foot, she has a shoe blister. Very, like, low-level stuff in comparison to everything else that the chapter dropped on you, and it's obviously set up for a cliffhanger. And it's very clear by the way this is done, it's probably setting up for maybe Chizuru to reflect on what she said to Kazuya, really think about her priorities and what she wants to do in life, and she might change her decision here to actually want to be with him. That's theoretically what's probably going to happen. If we're going down the cliche route, That's what will happen. Like, this is the last extension of melodrama, dramatic stuff going on within the story before it wraps itself up. That's at least how I take this. As someone that has read a lot of romance manga, a lot of rom-coms and stuff, that's what this chapter could easily lead into the fact that Chizuru's going to realize she messed up, and she's going to confront, Kazuya. They're going to get together, and everything is happy-go-lucky. That's how the series ends. However, this is Rent-a-Girlfriend, and this series is written by an author that is very, how can I say, obsessed with Chizuru. Like, if you don't know, the author of Rent-a-Girlfriend legitimately got jealous that a guy won an award to be with a life-size statue of Chizuru, and, like, go around and all that and travel with a statue of Chizuru. The author got jealous and bought the statue for himself after all that was done. There is a lot of jealousy that the author has, and on top of that, when you look at just, like, some of the things that's happened within the story that, Rent-a-Girlfriend gets beaten on, for instance, like, cuck stuff, like, being into yard, it's very likely maybe Kazuya will end up alone. Or at least his dream girl, Chizuru, will be taken from him, and he will never get her, and he's cucked by some other dude or some other person in his life. That's theoretically what could happen, judging by some of the things that has been set up within the story, or what we have seen from certain panels or chapters within Rent-a-Girlfriend. So, in general, there is a high possibility, because of the overall obsessive nature that the author has with his character Chizuru, and what we have seen already from the characters within the universe of Rent-a-Girlfriend, Kazuya could end up alone. And this legitimately is his end. He is not going to have anyone. And it's kind of funny. It's realistic. Once again, I'll talk about it in a second. But that is potentially the paths that this chapter could lead to. Full-blown rejection where he has no one, or Chizuru, understands she made a mistake and she gets with him. One or the other. Now, with that being said, we need to talk about what this chapter represents. What this chapter does. Not just to the series, but to Kazuya, Chizuru, and how short-sighted it actually is. Because this is pretty bad. And I really just want to dissect this because it's some next-level stuff that actually I was sitting back laughing so hard when I read these text leaks. Because I was just like, there's just no way. Like, I never imagined and envisioned something like this to happen, but here we are. So let's talk about it. So right here, Chizuru says she might be attracted to Kazuya, but not to the point where she would throw away her current life and job to jump into his arms. Now, from a certain viewpoint, this is understandable, because it's like, you don't necessarily want to throw away your comfortable life and what you have set up and going good for you just for another person, especially if you feel like you're not fully committed to them. And in a way, that is a smart decision to do as a person. However, what Chizuru is trying to stay as her current life and job is not sustainable. And let me explain. She is a rental girlfriend. And I'm just going to pour in some harsh facts and reality here. Her job, she has at most, 5 to 10 years, if we're really pushing, maybe 12 years, that she could do her job, if she really wants to push it, to be able to do the current job of being a rental girlfriend. But eventually, that job, that well, will dry up. And it's very short-sighted, because it basically means that she'd rather live a life of, making money through, I can't say the word, but being basically a bought girlfriend, a rental girlfriend, than actually being with someone that wants to settle down with them and, have a life with them. Even if Kazuya isn't, quote-unquote, the best person of all time, and he can be scumbag or whatever, the point of the matter is that Chizuru wanting to keep a job that is very unsustainable, and a job that she will lose in 5 to 10 years, is so short-sighted, it's insane. But at the same time, it is so realistic. And here's the thing, people are going to look at these text leaks in this chapter, and they're going to come out very negative from it. And I do too. But the point is once again, one thing I will give Rent-a-Girlfriend that always has stunned me, somehow, despite how angry it can make you, or just some stupid things that happen, there is elements to it that it's realistic. It does actually happen. And in this case, Chizuru choosing, obviously, a stupid decision of a short-sighted goal of a job that is, let's just be honest, not a job she's going to be able to do for a very long time, and eventually when that well dries up, she's going to be like, oh, crap, what do I do now? Because that's all she's known how to do. So, when you factor all this in, it's just like, it's just so stupid, but it's what people do. It's exactly what people do in real life. People will go after short-term objectives, goals, and satisfaction than long-term objectives to be able to feel settled maybe 10 years down the road and be completely set for life. They rather just have instant satisfaction and gratification than anything else. And that's basically what this entire segment implies, is that Chizuru just wants short-term investment, short-term goals, and that's it. She doesn't care. She's not thinking too hard in the future. She is young, but it doesn't still change the fact. It's very naive. It's very stupid, but, as I said, realistic. As for everything else, I feel like Chizuru doing this entire song and dance is unnecessarily cruel for a lot of reasons, but one reason in general is we had, like, this entire arc building up to, like, this reveal, to this rejection, now this rejection, or the revelation that they love each other, and it just, like, taking him, like, being in a romantic spot like what we have in this chapter and the last chapters and stuff, and then just straight rejecting him like this, it feels so cruel. It just feels malicious. It really does. Maybe that's just me. Maybe people won't agree with me on that, but it's a very malicious thing to do to someone. And I respect her for just being blunt and saying, yeah, she rejects him. I appreciate the honesty, but just everything about the circumstance. There was a better way to handle this, a time and place, and this definitely wasn't. It's like she led him along for so long and then just did this. It's bad, man. Like, I don't like it. It really reflects negatively on her as a person, as a character. Well, not a character, as a person. She is insufferable, just to be able to do something like that. It feels like, honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel bad for Kazuya. Like, I know he's the butt of the rom-com, romance, manga community, but in this circumstance, and what has happened in this latest arc, I kind of feel bad for him. The only reason why I don't fully feel bad for him is because he's had a lot of chances with other different girls within the story that do straight up love him, but he's kind of pushed them away or rejected them to chase after Chizuru. So it's his own fault why he might end up alone or might not be with anyone, but it doesn't change the fact. It's just like, bro, holy crap, man. What a chapter, man. I'll cover this when the chapter officially comes out. We'll talk more about it. But yeah, remember, these are text leaks. The chapter isn't fully out yet, but I just want to talk about this because this is crazy. But yeah, Rent a Girlfriend potentially is ending on this. That's insane. Anyways, love you guys. Be safe. Stay healthy. Chibi out.